Hello and welcome everyone, it's Capcan here, and today we're looking at our best Fire Mage talent tree builds from Dragonflight. Currently it's 27th of October, which means that it's only pre-patch now and it's all can change. Thanks for the information to the Wowhead. We're gonna have their link in the pinned comment, and of course I'm gonna have links to the builds themselves in the pinned comment under the video as well. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. And now I guess let's just go. Let's read a little bit about the author. So the guide is written and maintained by Preheat, previously a world first raider and founding member of Liquid. Preheat means Mage and has participated in the MDI and multiple raids to the world first events. So we definitely know that this guide is written and well made by a great talented Mage player. So yeah, I guess just let's go for the talent trees themselves. Look at them, think about them, and comment on them. Fire Mage Raid Talent Build. This is a typical Sun King's Blessing. Sun King's Blessing is after consuming 8 hot streaks, your next non-instant Pyroblast cast within 15 seconds grants you a combustion for 6 seconds, which is hella bonkers good. Build that focuses on single target above everything else. Pyrotechnics. Each time your fireball fails to critically strike it, it gains a stacking 10% increased critical strike chance. Can be swapped out if the flame strike talents are taken, since they provide an alternate path to flame on. Flame on is reduces the cooldown of fire blast by 2 seconds and increases the maximum number of charges by 1. And your Flame Fire Blast is one of your main abilities that you definitely want to be on as lowest cooldown as possible. For raiding, you will want to pick up AoE talents as needed, but typically it is best to stick with single target. See the M+ examples below for examples of talent swaps for AoE. So we'll probably have, otherwise it's gonna be M+ talent tree that is gonna focus on the AoE, which is quite logical. Note, in pre-patch legendary effects and talents do not stack. This means that we will opt to take Fiery Rush in our talents, while we have Sun King's Blessing equipped as a legendary for most situations. So again, one additional disclaimer here, this video and all this information is probably gonna be good for your pre-patch, but probably gonna change when expansion starts. And when expansion starts, I'm gonna redo everything. I'm gonna refresh. I'm gonna re-look at everything that is gonna come out afterwards. There are probably gonna be some balance changes as well, closer to the expansion release, which means that take all this information with pre-patch in your heads. Ice Flows is a good alternative for Shimmer. Ice Flows makes your next mage spell with a cast time shorter than 10 seconds castable while moving. Is a good alternate for Shimmer, which has its blink with 2 charges. When the distance traveled is unimportant. Temporal Warp can be used instead of Time Anomaly as long as Time Warp is used early in the fight. So Temporal Warp is while you have temporal displacement or other similar effects, you may use Time Warp to grant yourself 30% haste. So that's almost second Blood Rage for you. Instead of Time Anomaly, at any point you have chance to gain combustion for 5 seconds and 1 Fire Blast charge, or Time Warp for 6 seconds. So as long as Time Warp is used early in the fight. So if you want 2 or I guess that's everything is quite simple in here. So we have Blazing Barrier as the talent in the general talent tree that you can't really not take. Then we go into Ice Block, which is one of our main defensive cooldowns. Spell Steal, which you steal a beneficial magic effect from target. Then we take Mirror Image, creates 3 copies of you, and they attack enemies. And then Cryo Freeze. While inside Ice Block, you heal for 80% of your maximum health over the duration. So your Ice Block is way better as Panic Button, and it resets your health, which is definitely gonna be very useful. It's very good utilitarian stuff. In center, we're taking Overflowing Energy. Your spell critical strike damage is increased by 10%, which is massive. When your direct damage spells fail to critically strike a target, your spell critical strike chance is increased by 2% up to 10% for 8 seconds. And then it's reset if you critically strike. So yeah, for Fire Mage, it's especially good. Then we're taking Rune of Power, which is one of our like core damage cooldowns, and we were taking it before as well. Quick Witted, successfully interrupting an enemy with counterspell reduces its cooldown. Ice Nova causes a whirl of icy wind around the target, dealing frost damage, reducing and reduce damage to all other enemies and freezing them in place for 2 seconds. 25 seconds cooldown instant, which is good. Here we have Shimmer. It's like double blink. Then Tome of Ronin increases critical strike chance by 2%. Again, very, very good for us. Tome of Antonidas increases haste by 2%. Again, very good. Flow of Time, the cooldown of blink is reduced by 2 seconds. And in our case, it's gonna be Shimmer. Greater, it's of course, yes, Shimmer, it like, oh, but wait a second. Shimmer still replaces blink, right? Well, that I'm not really quite sure about. Then Greater Invisibility makes you invisible and untargetable for 20 seconds. Removing all threat, you take reduced damage while invisible. And then Time Anomaly, which was we saw here that you take either Time Anomaly or you can take Temporal Warp if you really want to, but Time Anomaly is just more passively, it's like, yeah, it's passive sustain buffs for you. And in the right part we have just regular invisibility, Remove Curse, Arcane Warding. Remove Curse, it's more of like, yeah, if you want to be if you want to bring utility with yourself more. Arcane Warding reduces the magic damage taken by 4%, a little bit more survivability. Incantation of Swiftness, Invisibility increases your movement speed. Then Alter Time alters the fabric of time, returning you to current location and health when used. To your current location and health when cast a second time. So yeah, that's like your go back in time ability. Master of Time reduces the cooldown of Alter Time by 10 seconds, resets the cooldown of Blink when returned to your original location, which again, even more, it like emphasizes you to be more mobile, to take more responsibilities on different like raid, probably like raid responsibilities, yeah. And Blast Wave, instant, deals damage and knocks enemy back, reducing their movement speed. Volatile Detonation greatly increases the effect of Blast Wave's knockback. Blast Wave cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds. So yeah, even better knockbacks. And that's all when it comes to our general talent tree. Now with our specialized fire talent tree, we go with Pyroblast, Fire Blast. Fervent Flickering is ignite damage, has 5% chance to reduce the cooldown of Fire Blast by 1 second, which is very, very good because uptime on Fire Blast is very important. Then Scorch. Yeah, just our regular Scorch. Searing Scorch deals 150% increased damage and is guaranteed critical strikes when the target is below 30% health, which is very, very, very powerful in raiding encounters. When the boss is low HP, you're gonna have like just 100% crits for yourself. Phoenix Flames we're taking as well. Pyrotechnics, each time your fireball fails to critically strikes. Yeah, that's what we talked before. Then we're taking Firestarter. Your Fireball and Pyroblast spells always deal a critical strike when the target is above 90% health, which is again very good for your opener damage windows in raid encounters. Then Kosherize, fatal damage instead brings you to 35% health. That's your cheat death mechanic, again very useful for raids. Critical Mass, your spells have a 15% chance to deal a critical strike. Very, very powerful. You gain 10% more of the critical strike stat from all sources. Again, even better. Even though I don't really know how you're gonna go with your stats though as Fire Mage. Yeah, so that's like mystery for me. I haven't really looked into complete guides of classes going into Dragonflight, and it's probably there's gonna be videos about that when we will go into the expansion itself. We will look at guides, we will look at everything that every single specialization goes into, and then we're gonna have more knowledge in our heads. From the Ashes, increases the mastery by 2% for each charge of Phoenix Flames off cooldown, and your direct damage critical strike reduces its cooldown by 1 second. Then after Pyrotechnics, we had Flame On. Reduces the cooldown of Fire Blast by 2 seconds and increases the maximum number of charges by 2, which is just crucial for you. Combustion, one of our signature damage cooldowns, 100% gonna take it. Fire Mind, consuming Hot Streak grants you 2% increased intellect, just like more damage, more primary stats. Pyroclasm, consuming Hot Streak has a 15% chance to make your next non-instant Pyroblast cast within 15 seconds, deal 230% additional damage. So as you can see, non-instant Pyroblasts. So a bit of like emphasis on you to use them while they're proccing and while they're not really instant. Then we have Feel the Burn. Fire Blast increases your mastery for 5 seconds. This effect stacks up to 3 times, which is very, very good. Improved Combustion. Combustion grants mastery equal to 50% of your critical strike stat and lasts 2 seconds longer, which, yeah, probably make your crit strike stat even more appealing for you. Kindling, yeah. Your Fireball, Pyroblast, and Phoenix Flames critical strikes reduce the remaining cooldown on combustion by 1 second, which means very like more and more uptime on your combustion. Wildfire Ignite deals 6% additional damage. When you activate combustion, you gain 8% crit strike, and up to 4 nearby allies gain some crit strike for 10 seconds as well, which is definitely gonna be very good for any content, especially like, yeah, for like yeah, just that's very good for your damage, that's very good for damage of your party, and that's cool. And then we have Fiery Rush as our final talent. While combustion is active, your Fire Blast and Phoenix Flames recharge 50% faster, which means that your burst windowses are gonna be even more punishing and like damage effective. So yeah, that's your raiding like talent 3 build for pre-patch. And then we go with Fire Mage Mythic Plus talents. The Sun King Blessing talent with Sun King Blessing does not stack, which means that, yeah, you probably would take something else for now. This means that we can take the talent in Mythic Plus and run Disciplinary Command as our legendary in some cases. Still, that's all the information that you can use in pre-patch. For Mythic Plus, Fire Mages will give up less impactful single target and quality of life talents in favor of AoE. Each AoE talent has a cost, and a decision for AoE is often a decision against single target, and that's quite obvious. We will begin with general suggestion, then move on into more extreme examples. Remember that these builds are a suggestion, and some discussion against survivability cauterized in favor of slight gains like Living Bomb are a matter of preference and are easily negated if you end up dead. So again, like it shows again that even if your Mythic Plus or like world first raiders and people who play the game for a living, even if they are not 100% sure on some talents, and even if they know that some of their choices may like create some controversies in community and someone is gonna flame them for not taking some talents, that means that there are definitely choices in the talent trees that you can play with, and if you want to have something else, and if you think that it fits your playstyle, it fits your like compilation in dungeon party or in raid, you can take other talents rather than in the guide ones. But still, it's very important to know what is like considered most effective, so that you can utilize this knowledge, and based on that you can make your own decisions. So what's with our like general talent tree? It's the same, right? Yep, it's just the same. It's 1-to-1. I can't really spot any differences here. Flame Patch AoE talent build. This build is an example of a balanced build that dabbles in AoE but doesn't hard commit to it. Use the Sun King's Blessing legendary here. Again, it like takes into account legendaries, which again, it's gonna be changed going into the expansion itself. So let's look at what changes in like general talent tree. So we're not taking from the ashes. Then we're not taking 2 talents of critical mass. Oh, shish. Okay. Then we're not taking fire starter and pyrotechnics here, as you can see. In bottom part, everything is kind of similar to what it have been, and we're going more into like right part of the tree. We're taking flame strike, of course, and we hadn't really we didn't do that previously. We're increasing it with improved flame strike. Flame strike's cast time is reduced by 1 second and its radius is increased. Flame on we've had. Flame patch. Flame strike leaves behind a patch of flames which burns enemies within it for some like fire damage, and enemies damaged by flame patch have a 5% chance to erupt into a living bomb. Yeah, so as you can see, even if you're not taking living bomb, you still can have it with incendiary eruptions. And what he was speaking about previously is that you can sacrifice Kosher Eyes and take living bomb if you know that you're not gonna go down to like low health and that you wouldn't really need to like feint your death. Like you need to cheat death. Yeah. So if you're like 100% sure about it, you can take living bomb for a little bit of additional damage. Yeah, and that's all the differences in the build. So we go a little bit more into flame strike path, and we're taking a little bit of our single target oriented talents here and there. And flame patch heavy AoE talent build. Oh, so that's just regular AoE build, and that's heavy AoE build, which, oh yeah, that's the changes that I was looking for. Like almost completely different talent tree, and that's very cool. This build is an extreme example for heavy AoE, but deeper AoE talents can be swapped back out for single target as needed. Run the disciplinary command legendary here. Still things for pre-patch, duh. And yeah, we go. If we were to compare it to this build, we're not taking critical mass and Kosher Eyes at all. Yeah, we're taking everything else in center part, but we're not going into Wildfire and Fiery Rush, and we're going into Controlled Destruction. Pyroblast's initial damage is increased by 8% when the target is above 70% health or below 30% health. That's for single target, I guess. After consuming 8 hot streaks, Sun King's Blessing... That's all because that's all for you to, if you're like going to take other legendary, then you can go into like this path and take Sun King's Blessing. So yeah, I guess like Fire Mage talent trees, they're 100% not Dragonflight ready. It's all for pre-patch very heavily. And yeah, as we can see, we go a little bit more here for Living Bomb, for conflagration. Fireball applies conflagration to the target, dealing additional fire damage. Enemies affected by either conflagration or ignite have a 10% chance to flare up and deal fire damage to nearby enemies. That's what we take here, and we go for Sun King's Blessing instead of Fiery Rush because we take some other legendary. Hypothermia AoE talent build. Okay. So we're gonna look at all talent trees. I'm not against it, but yeah, that's like, I know that it may sound like repeatable, too repetitive, I guess, that I'm saying that it's all for pre-patch, but it's just hardly for pre-patch and everything that is available for you now. But it's gonna be in the title of the video, so like, yeah, I'm saying that it's for pre-patch, best builds for pre-patch. So yeah, what are we taking? Oh, I guess, no, yes, no, wait a second. So we're taking other talents in here as well with our general talent tree. Okay, so let's finish the heavy AoE talent tree build. Okay, we're taking Mass Polymorph. Then we're not going into our Flow of Time, Greater Invisibility, and Time Anomaly. We're going into Frigid Winds. All of your snare effects reduce the target's movement speed by additional margin. Then Time Manipulation. A Fire Blast reduces the cooldown of your loss of control abilities. And Ice Ward for Snova now has 2 charges. finishing everything with shifting power, our Night Fae ability that like gives you recooldowns a bit your mage abilities and deals some AoE damage. Yeah, so that's quite logical for you to have this talent in AoE situations. Okay, and now with Hypothermia, the build is an extreme example for heavy AoE, where you forgo Sun King's Blessing in favor of Hypothermia. Pyromaniac has some synergy with Hypothermia, but it is skipped due to how unreliable it is. Sun King's Blessing or Disciplinary Command can be used here, since the Sun King's Blessing talent will not conflict with your Legendary. And let's look at Cryo Freeze. Was it? Oh, it was. Yeah, it was reduced to 1 talent point here. So these two builds in their general talent tree, they are the same. Yes, they're the same. But your specific talent tree is a little bit. Man, there's even more talent trees. Holy moly! Which is quite cool. Yeah, I've already saw 3 specialization best talent builds, and they were like, that's your best raiding talent tree, that's your best M+ talent tree, and here we have quite a different situation with how the Fire Mage can be played differently, and that's very, very cool that we have different builds. It's a little bit like, for now, it's a little bit underwhelming because it's still pre-patch and not the expansion itself. So yeah, let's go with what I guess we're gonna like just look at it completely differently. So we're not taking the Sun King's Blessing path. We're not taking these 3 talents as well. Still everything, we're taking critical mass to the full. We're increasing our combustion, but not going into fiery rush. We're going into hypothermia. So hypothermia is when hot streak activates, you have a low chance to cause all pyroblasts and flame strikes to have no cast time and be guaranteed critical strikes for 5 seconds. So yeah, that's our main talent with Fevered Incantation. Each consecutive critical strike you deal increases critical strike damage you deal by 2% for up to 10% for 6 seconds. Then we take Master of Flame, and we haven't taken it before. Ignite deals more damage while combustion is not active. Fire Blast spreads Ignite to 4 additional nearby targets during combustion. Yeah, and that's your main like differences between like this part, taking this part of the talent tree or this part of the talent tree. Yeah, so that's like, as you can see, that's hypothermia, and it's quite cool that this can be like playable. Extreme example for heavy AoE, which sounds very, very juicy, you know. And then Ignite Cleave only talent build. The idea with this build is to focus priority targets and talents that cleave Mastery Ignite to additional targets. This requires a target sturdy enough to cleave Mastery Ignite from at all times. All talents that increase Mastery are taken, and Flame Strike is skipped. Oh, no, the majority of the value in Flame On is in the first point, reduces the cooldown of Fire Blast. Yeah, the second point can be moved elsewhere is needed. Oh, so yeah, I guess you're like, yeah, you're here having an additional probably charge of your Fire Blast, but your cooldown reduction it to 2 seconds instead of 1 is not the main thing. The Sun King Blessing Legendary is recommended for this build. And what it's like, it's a little bit different talent tree. It's the talent tree, general talent tree that we've had in our first builds, mostly. Yeah, mostly the same, with the only difference here that we're taking time manipulation. Yeah, and everything else seems kinda the same. And fire talent tree, we're completely ignoring Flame Strike. We're not taking Living Bomb. We're going full into critical mass, Flame On. We're not taking Cauterize because again it's probably more like damage talent tree. Call of the Sun King, Phoenix Flames gain 1 additional charge. Pyroclasm consuming hot streak has a 50% chance. It was like as before. before. Fiery Rush, Master of Flame, Ignite deals more damage while Combustion is not active. Yeah, that's probably very, very useful stuff if you're playing through fully through Ignite. And as you can see, you can you can look at all these like key talents in order for you to understand better which ones are like very good, which ones are, as you can see, low impact, decent talents. Yeah, I guess that's it. I guess that's the fire mage talent trees for your pre-patch of Dragonflight. If you liked the content, hit a like button to the video, subscribe to the channel. I will leave the link on Wowhead article in pinned comment. I will leave the links to all the builds in pinned comment. Hope you're having a blast with like pre-patch, and hope that Dragonflight is gonna be very, very cool. Have a good day. Goodbye.